BoxingAsylum.com fans, here we are with a special interview today, talking to former world champion Nate Campbell. Nate, how are you doing today, and what's been going on in your life since you decided to step away from the ring?
Well, man, I'm right now at the PAL in a capacity of as an instructor, but I'm also going to school. I'm doing a lot of different things. Working towards getting one of my companies off the ground, something I love doing all my life. I've been cooking for a long time.
So what are you going to school for? Are you going to school for culinary arts?
No, I'm actually not. I'm going to school for pharmacy technician. I'm going to school for pharmacy technician, and then I'll probably go from there to the business side. I want to work the business side of the pharmacy.
There's so much opportunity in that industry. I really can't blame you on making that call. And when I had a chance to talk to you earlier this week, and you said that something you've really been enjoying lately is working with kids. What have you been doing with your time with kids right now, and what are your goals with that?
Well, right now I'm in the process of trying to get I'm getting the process of getting a grant written so that I can do a program called Books and Boxing. I want kids to be able to read as well as, defend themselves boxing-wise, but I would love for kids to be able to do something else. Do something else other than just box. I want them to have a life.
Absolutely.
And I want to be able to, I want kids to have a chance at college.
And do you think, as far as it goes for kids, that education is the most important thing, and in any program involving them, that's really where the focus needs to be?
Well, you know what? I think that the grand scheme of things, we have to be able to work accountable for our youth. You hear what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I believe in your adage that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I'm a part of the village, and I think that, every action I have now is more concerted towards being a good example for our children.
Absolutely. How many children did you say you had there?
I actually have 13 in my class, so today we've been watching between 30 and 35 kids.
Oh wow!
But throughout the whole campus, over 70.
That's incredible. That's got to keep you on your toes, Nate.
Don't you? Whenever I walk in the building, you can tell when I'm in the building because you hear the kids.
Is that something that you were surprised when you took those steps, at just the kind of rapport that you've had with kids, and that this is part of your true calling?
I love children. One of my kids came up and said, "Can you tell my mommy I've been good, Mr. Campbell?" I'm like, "She did everything for me." I mean, I don't have a problem with these kids being bad because they know that I don't play. I mean, but it is my calling. But I think that what's missing is discipline. I think that what is really missing right now is the discipline part. See you, Ms. Dawson. Have a good day. He's been good. Have discipline, discipline. These kids want, they want, this kid, his whole desire is to let his mama know he was good. I mean, and children still want to please us. But I think as parents, a lot of parents don't understand that the kids want to please us. And so many parents are so off doing their own thing, going their own way, living their own life the way they want to live it, that they don't stop to think about their kids in the grand scheme of things. I mean, every decision we make is something that our children have to deal with.
Yeah, and that's always been a big thing that I've understood. It's not the kids' fault, so we have to push ourselves in any way to make their situation better because they don't choose their situation.
You know what? They don't. I know that I'm here every day and I see some pretty sad stories. But because I'm here every day, one kid asked me the other day, he said, you box and you did really well and this and the other, and I don't know, why are you here? And my answer to him was the best answer I've ever given anyone. You know what my answer was?
Absolutely.
Hello?
Absolutely.
My answer was, I'm here because you're here.
And where are you living at? You're in Florida, aren't you, Nate?
Yeah, I'm in Jacksonville. I'm home. I'm back home and living and loving my life. I mean, engaged to a beautiful young lady who was the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life, greatest person I've ever met, teaching me so much more about me than I ever knew. Has made me realize that I'm more than a boxer, and that's kind of hard for anybody to believe. I'm sure that they don't think I'm anything but a boxer, but to have someone tell you that, baby, I love you, not because you can knock people out, but because of your heart, is a big thing.
And, you know, when you found yourself at the point where you knew it was time to step away from the ring, what was the most difficult part of making that decision? What do you miss the most?
Steady patient. I love the shot, and every time I fought, I went shopping. Now, and I joke about that, but it's not true, but it is true. I love the shop, but what I missed about it was, to know that today I have something to do. Today I have to train. Today I have to. You know what I'm saying? It gave me a reason to run. Gave me a reason to do all the stuff that I did. But I never got into boxing for the adulation. I never cared about that.
What did bring you into the sport of boxing? Because you did get a late start.
I knew I could do it, and I wanted to prove it that I could before it was too late.
And you started out, you were, 24 years old, and then you became the Florida State Amateur Champion at that point?
At 25, yeah. I started training at 24, and I had my first fight at 25.
And what is it that you think made it so that boxing just made sense to you, that it was something that you could do almost right off the bat?
Well, natural athlete. I was an athlete. I could always fight. And I had to because I was the smallest one in the bunch. I loved the combat part. But there were some demons in my life that I had to exercise. I was molested at an early age, and I just wasn't letting anybody take advantage of me. And fighting was the way that I did that. But I loved the combat part.
When you grew up, it's a little bit rough, and combat was really a part of your day-to-day life, wasn't it, Nate?
Oh, every day. But a little bit rough is what you call it when you're. A little bit rough is an understatement.
How would you describe it?
There was a lot of it rough. A lot of it rough. Some days I fought. One time, I remember fighting sometimes every day of the week.
Like just so that you could make your way home and.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you describe the neighborhood that you grew up in as a child?
Bad. Some days you played with certain guys. Some days you fought those same guys. I mean, a lot of kids were latchkey kids. Fathers were out at home, mothers were on crack cocaine. Well, not crack at the time. Well, heroin addicts, speedballs into heroin and cocaine.
What in your life was able made it so that you were able to avoid those temptations, that you didn't end up being just another one of those guys that grew up rough and ended up on drugs?
My father's name is Nathaniel Campbell Jr. He was sick all my life. Died on my 10th birthday, March 7th, 1982. He died. But before he died, some years before, my daddy told me, we were sitting in a hospital room, he was sick. My father had AIDS, but there was no name for it back in the 70s. So around 1978, around 1980, I want to say 1978. He was sick. I was 6 years old. And I said, Daddy, I want to be just like you. Ain't nothing better than you. And my daddy grabbed me by the arm and he squeezed my hand real tight, tight as his sick body would let him. My daddy said, you promise me you'll be better than me. You promise me you won't get stuck here, you won't die here. You won't end up like this. Because I thought my daddy was the greatest thing in the world. Sick or not, he was still my daddy and he was good to me. Now, I was hurt. And everything in me, it took everything in me to tell him that I would. But from that day forward, from that day in 1978 to this day, I'm striving to be better because I promised him that I would. And being better meant that I had to get out of the ghetto that I grew up in.
And let me ask you this. If you look back at your father and look at yourself today, what do you think would have brought him more pride? Seeing your hand raised as champion, or seeing the father and the man that you've become?
Definitely the father and the man that I've become. Definitely that. Because anybody can become world champion in this day and age. Though I paid for it the hard way and I went about it the hard way, and I had to do it the hard way, he'd have been proud of my climb. He'd have been so happy at the man I become. He'd have been proud of me for coming out of everything that I fell into. He'd be happy with me, man. I just know he would. I know it now.
And let me ask this. You did get a start late in boxing, but even though it was at an older age, what lessons did the sport of boxing teach you? What benefits did it give you that we didn't see inside the ring that were only things that mattered to Nate Campbell?
What it taught me was that in life, you're only to people. What first taught me was that people love you when you're up, but they don't want nothing to do with you when you're not. Everybody loves a winner. It taught me some things about people, taught me some things about me. But the one thing boxing taught me was, through all the stuff I had to go through to get to the title, none of it made me as happy as knowing that no one can take it from me now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's in the history books.
And let's revisit those history books. When you think about the date of March 8th, 2008, what immediately springs to your mind?
What's springs to my mind is the fact that my dad, it was my 26th anniversary of my father dying. My birthday was the day before. My pastor died the 5th. And there was so much going on around me that could have made me falter and stumble, but I was so focused, man. I was focused beyond any focus that I've ever felt in my life. I was focused. There was nothing that could hurt me. I was invincible in my mind. I could do anything. I could go anywhere. There was nothing I could do. I was nowhere I was going to lose. For the first time in my life, everything came together just right.
And that was an incredible night. I remember as they were doing the call on that, they kept talking about Juan Diaz's volume. And I believe Larry Merchant jumped in and he said, Nate is throwing more punches than Juan Diaz. And let me ask you this, when you look back and you watch telecasts and stuff like that, do you go back and kind of see an obvious bias for the house fighter when you're in those situations?
Oh, man. Let me tell you something. Jim Lampley and all them cats that was around the ring, other than Manny Stewart, God bless his soul. Man, them guys are what we call HBO house fighter lovers. They love them. I don't know if they're telling them what to say in their ear or they just see it that way. But I beat Juan Diaz every single round, and I still barely won the fight.
What was going
what was going through my mind
when you knew it was a split decision at that point in time? I mean, after you did put in all that work, and then they're announcing the scores with the names, and you're waiting on that last card, what's going through your mind at that point in time?
Here we go again. Here we go again.
But for once, they did get it right, and when your name was read.
And the bad part about it is the guy that gave the fight to Juan was a Florida official.
He was what, Nate? Pardon, I missed that.
The guy that gave Juan the fight was from Florida.
Really?
Yes. I don't have any ill will, but dude, even when I clearly beat a guy to almost the chest, I still barely won the fight.
Yeah, that was just an unbelievable fight. I mean, the fact that they had it is ridiculously close. And then they also tried to get you on that bogus point deduction. Did you kind of feel like you were also battling the referee in that fight?
Oh, look, man, I was fighting the referee and everything else, the elements, everything else. I was fighting it all.
And let me ask you this. You talked about HBO and showing bias in these fights and stuff like that. Just to touch back on a fight in recent memory here, I've constantly gotten on people. I scored the Pacquiao-Bradley fight a draw. When you saw that fight...
I didn't. I scored that fight for Pacquiao. First of all, let me tell you what happened. Not that I don't like Tim Bradley because you think I have history with him. My history is in what's right and what's wrong. It says the fight has to be effective aggression. Pacquiao was aggressive effectively. He landed the cleaner, harder shot. His defense was done. All Bradley did was run around and throw a lot of shots. That's amateur. Nobody stopped to think about, what was going on was simply this. Pacquiao, if it wasn't for Pacquiao, there wouldn't be a fight. Because Bradley would never engage really. Would Bradley have fought the same fight if Pacquiao was coming forward? No.
It was a really strange night, and
it wasn't strange. What was strange was the fact that everybody missed the fact that Pacquiao hadn't renewed his contract with Bob Arum. Therefore, Bob Arum had it set up where Pacquiao couldn't leave him without the title.
Really?
That's the way I feel. I'll always feel that way.
You don't think that the scores had anything to do with Pacquiao making everybody wait so he could finish a basketball game and the judges kind of just thinking he deserves a little something?
Guess what? What a way to take something from a man. But the sad part about it is, these judges get paid a wage. I don't care if they don't ever have a judge around the ring, they'll still have fights.
But let me ask you this: when it comes to judging,
I don't think most judges know what the world they're doing.
I've noticed that, and something that you did that I lean heavily on when I score fights is body work. Do you think that body work is cast aside too much?
Yes, it is, because it's amateurish. Boxing is becoming so amateurish because these people decided that if you ain't landing a shot to the head, you ain't doing nothing. The most damage is done with a body shot.
And, do you feel, as you progress throughout your career, you get into the Diaz fight, the Funica fight where he just unloaded on his body. Do you think that when it came down to it, that the body work really was what gave you those fights as you went down to the wire?
Ask Juan Diaz about it. If you ever have a chance to talk to him one-on-one with no cameras around, she'll tell you I hit him harder than any man has ever hit into the body. I hit him so hard with my left hook to the right side. To this day, I think he still has nightmares about that shot. And that wasn't even my right hand. But the problem is, body work ain't glamorous.
No, but it gets the job done. It's
all day long. Let me tell you something. You can hit me to the head and I can shake it off. But if I hit you to the body, I guarantee you 5, 6, 7 rounds from now, you still talking about why your butthole tight and you can't push air out of it.
When you were learning the game, and as you're starting, to work with kids, and you're starting to teach the game a little bit, is body work something that when you start getting into the technical aspects?
I'm gonna teach it I'm gonna teach it the way they taught me. I'm gonna teach the old school boxing. I'm not gonna teach this new amateur stuff. I'm gonna show you something. The new school amateur boxing is about to disappear. Do you know why?
Why's that?
They're taking the hedges off again.
Yep, I saw that.
Oh yeah. Guess what? Body work is gonna come in. A lot less bulls gonna come falling through the cracks. You're gonna have a lot less these guys like Amir Khan gonna slip through the cracks now.
A fighter like that. Why is it that you think that someone like an Amir Khan refuses to use his physical attributes and he puts himself into fights that he can't win?
Because he doesn't know how. He's always had the headgear to fall back on. It ain't like that now. The headgear's done now, baby. The headgear's done.
And do you think
they never learn how? They never learn how to fight right, man. They don't never learn to fight. Right now, they never learn to fight.
Now, Nate, is Amir Khan a fighter that, when you got out of the Fanica fight, that you feel like if you had a chance to get into the ring, you could have taken him to deep waters and brought him out?
I'd have knocked them out. And you know what the problem is?
What's that?
It's not that I can't fight. I can't get up for the guys that I am fighting. So they have an advantage. I can't get up for them. They can get up for me. There is only a few guys on this planet that I can get up for, and I never will get to fight. I won't get the Mayweather fight. I won't get the Pacquiao fight. So, for me, there's nothing left for me to stay around for. I can't get up for these guys. I'm not happy with the fights I'm getting. Money be damned. I want to fight the best guys out there so I can bring my best forward. But as long as I was fighting, my best stuff was, I felt like I was fighting a guy that was worthy of me. I was able to train and perfect my craft. But now, I don't care about the belts anymore. I just want to beat the best. All right, now I don't want to beat the best.
And, we're talking about your best. When you go back through your career, when do you think that we really saw Nate Campbell at his peak abilities?
You never did.
Really?
You never did. I don't think you ever did. Because I never got that defining fight. I told you going into the BS fight, he couldn't beat me. Right or wrong. I told everybody he couldn't beat me. But everybody thought he could, so I had to go out and prove that he could. There was only 2 fights I wanted as I fight for. I'd have retired if they'd have given me the fight with Pacquiao or Mayweather. I'd have retired boxing.
In looking back at, the incarnation of Pacquiao, I believe that the Pacquiao that was fighting at 135 and 140 briefly was about the best version of of Manny Pacquiao. What would you have done going in?
To this day, everybody asks me, do I think Manny Pacquiao was on steroids? I'm going to simply say this. You tell me how a man goes from a lower weight as he went through and come up as high as he did and carry so much power up without being on something. You tell me. I'm gonna ask you this question. You tell me what race of man is the most muscularly developed man on the planet naturally? Tell me who the most muscularly developed man on the planet is.
Oh, it's definitely African bloodline. Absolutely.
Exactly. I don't see any African bloodline in Manny Pacquiao. You tell me how he put on the kind of lean muscle he put on and size that he put on and carried that much power up to the weight. He wasn't just beating guys, he was destroying guys.
Yeah, that the fight with Ricky Hatton, as a big Ricky Hatton fan, that one really sent me for a loop.
Let's not even talk Ricky Hatton. Let's talk about what he did to Cotto. Look at what he did to Cotto. Look at what he did to De La Hoya.
Yeah, the Cotto fight I found amazing, because Cotto.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna say.
Go ahead.
Right, but I'm gonna give you something else to think about. Imagine this. Imagine what he did to Margarito, who really should have slaughtered him, hit him with this kind of shot, broke his jaw from what I heard. Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna like this. You're gonna really like this. This is the same man that fought David Diaz and took him 9 rounds, hitting him clean to get him out. But then goes up and fights De La Hoya and destroys it. Come on now, let's.
Do you think that's where? Do you think that if obviously we don't have any sound evidence, so we can't say anything. But would you say that you believe that is when, if he did start using steroids, it would have been between the Diaz fight and the De La Hoya fight?
No, he was using it way before then. But what it was he had to come off of it so much earlier at 135.
Really?
Yes. Come on, man. I've been doing a lot of studying on steroids and how they work in the body from being an athlete my whole life. I've had people try to put me on steroids my whole life because I have such a great physique. I'm like, I'm good. I'm going to do this thing natural.
And, have you been approached in the gym, approached on the side with people offering you that little thing to give you the edge? I mean, is it something that you actually would run into during the course of your career?
Oh, of course. Everybody want to make you better. At the expense of your career.
And let me ask you this, as the steroid technology keeps advancing and advancing, making it, I think they might be, basically ahead of where the testing is at. How many, if you were to say a percentage of the top fighters, say the top 10s in, each division, what percent of those fighters do you think are utilizing some sort of substance that is technically banned?
I don't know. The sad part about it is I don't even watch it now. I don't watch. Because here's my problem. Because the rules only apply to certain guys. If they like you, the rules don't apply. If they like you, the rules don't apply. When I was coming along, and I beat Diaz, they began to throw, they were throwing around the steroid thing on me. I didn't even drink alcohol at the time. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason they wanted to make it seem like I was a steroid user. I just couldn't get over it. That the rules don't apply to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you something else that pissed me off. How Pacquiao can make a man who was champion have to drain himself all the way down to a catch weight to fight him. And the networks would agree to that. And the sanctioning bodies would too.
What I find worse than that, I think you're talking about the Cotto fight there, but the fact that he picked up a 154-pound belt at 150 pounds against Margarito, who couldn't even beat Daniel Santos at junior middleweight.
See, but the sad part about it is the rules don't apply to everyone the same way. And for me, I don't hate anybody. I'm not mad with anybody. I just think that I'm more about reform than I'm about, I don't care how much money you make. I just want reform. I want Washington's rules reformed the way everybody gets the same treatment.
Yeah, that would be one heck of a world, but it doesn't seem like we're moving that direction.
we're moving another direction every day. Hey, I don't hate anybody. I love them. But, I mean, if you wanted to survive, you're going to have to make it there.
Yeah. You know, and let me ask you this. When you look at yourself at your peak level of skills, who is someone in the history of boxing, not Mayweather and Pacquiao, but, you know, someone from the past that you would have really have liked to have gone in with? I mean, would you have liked to have fought a Roberto Duran at lightweight?
Heck no. These are my idols, man. That's like you asked me when I want to fight one of my favorite fighters of all time, Aaron Pryor or Sugar Ray Robinson. I'd have loved to fight them, you know, in a perfect world, just to prove to myself I could do it. But I just saw so much of them. I mean, there's not many guys, and I revere the guys that came before me. I respect what they did. You know?
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you're looking at the history of boxing, and you're looking at this era right now, from a fighter's perspective, do you think that Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao is more competitive on the historical scale in fantasy fights?
Hell no. Man, please. I think Floyd is probably right now by here, he's the best managed guy, best businessman of the bunch. I believe that. I don't knock that. And he's the superior fighter to everybody he's fought. But for those guys to actually say he would be Ray Robinson, out of their rabbit mind.
Yeah, I always thought that was a little bit of stretch, too.
Man, let me tell you something. A lot of bit of a stretch. And I don't knock them as fighters. But these are the guys I grew up stealing stuff from. I stole nothing from Mayweather. And I'm being honest. I feel like this. Take your era and run with it. You know what I'm saying? But that's why they don't put you in the hall for 5 years after you retire. You know, because they want to assess your career over the long haul.
You know, and
let me tell you something. They didn't change the structure because of Mayweather's sheer power or boxing ability. But they did change it for Willie Phelps. They did change it for Stanley Sadler. They did change the rules for Jack Dempsey. They did change the rules for guys like Ray Robinson. They had to change it. These guys were vicious, man.
And who is your favorite fighter in the history of the sport? Would you have to lean towards Ray Robinson, as he was really the complete package?
Lean. I lay towards Ray Robinson. There is no other fighter on the planet as great as him. Bar none.
So, as someone that appreciates the history of boxing, does it almost even offend you when somebody says that they could have stood in the same ring with Ray Robinson?
It does. And prime for prime, there's not. Ray Robinson did most of the stuff that we saw him do after his prime.
Yeah, most of his stuff wasn't even caught on camera, was it?
It wasn't. Prime for prime. Let me tell you something. Ray Robinson knocked Gene Fullmer out with one single left hook after his prime was far past.
Well, he had accumulated over 100 victories before he even lost a fight, didn't he?
No, he lost his first fight. He was 4-0. He lost I think it was Jake LaMotta.
Okay.
He didn't lose again. He was 131-1.
Oh wow.
Yeah. His career record was 175-19-6-2. With 109 knockouts in some places, in other books 110. But wherever you rank him, he's number 2 overall.
So that's, you know, and you know, if you had a
bad man.
If you had a chance, given, you know, the boxing politics weren't the way they were, the way that they push events and stuff right now, if you could go back into that era, are you the kind of guy that would have gotten in there and you would have had over 100 fights because that's what you love to do?
Yep. I have almost 50 fights now.
And
I have almost 50. I had almost 50 fights now.
And your pro career started when you were what, 27, Nate?
28, 27 years and 11 months old.
Wow.
Imagine that. If I'd have started my career in my early 20s, I have more fights than anybody in the history of boxing probably. I'd be 5-time world champion like all these guys who win one title and all of a sudden did it. Here's my love. My great love is a guy like Max Kellerman and all these other guys get out here and say that you're a titleist if you don't have the ring belt. But the guy with the ring belt won't fight you. And I'm like, well, no offense, what would you know? You ain't ever had a title.
You know, and if you had had a chance to get a rematch with Yoel Casamayor, do you think that you would have been able to put all the belts together?
Oh, man, he didn't have the belt. He wasn't holding it up.
Well, he had that robbery against Jose Armando Santa Cruz where, you know, he shouldn't have even had it.
Right, but he had the interim WBO title. He didn't even have the WBO title. He held me up with the interim belt.
So he was actually your mandatory at the time after you beat.
Oh, my God. Now somebody talk to me about something to understand. He was my mandatory. My mandatory wouldn't fight me. Let's get that established.
You know, you had a chance to share the ring with him earlier in his career. Is his reputation as being one of the dirtiest guys in the sport ring true?
Baby, I'm gonna tell you right now. I've never been fouled in such a manner. He headbutted me, elbowed me, and hit me with a low blow. All before I could blink twice.
You know, and you growing up and fighting in Florida, being in those gyms down there, do you find it's actually those tactics are fairly common from people that grew up in the Cuban amateur system?
Oh yeah. Even if they didn't grow up in the Cuban amateur system, guys that are Cuban fighters just fight dirty. They especially if they get to lose it.
Let me ask you this: do you think that oftentimes that dirty fighting when the ref isn't looking is an art? I mean, when you look at a guy
it is an art.
Yeah, Bernard Hopkins.
I'm as dirty as they are. I'm as dirty as the next guy. And I learned to be after the Casamayor fight.
It was one of those you got to fight fire with fire things.
From that day on.
Now let me ask you this: what was one of your favorite tricks that you had up your sleeve when you had the moment where you knew you could get away with it?
Our Turner guy, if the referee got parallel to us, and was behind the other guy, I pounded the other guy in the hip, in the balls, as fast as I could, as many times as I could.
And what does it do to a guy when you constantly hit him on the hip? Is that something for someone like you that likes to work the body that helps to take those wills away and let you get inside even more?
Yep. It sure does. Now you got to fight me.
Let me ask you, in your career, who was the most complicated fighter that you ever fought, where you're in the ring with them and you can't wrap your mind around what they're doing and figure out how to go about it?
None.
You don't
Never had one that was complicated. Never.
Even a fighter like Ali Funica, who is so ridiculously large for his weight class.
I knew what I had to do. I had to get close and overcome trying to take off all that weight. That's what I had to do. Then there was nothing complicated about that.
You know, and the weight thing is something that's touched you on that moment where it was a shame and you had to give up your belts, but you only missed it that one time. It wasn't any sort of habit you had. But then you had a fighter that you're going in against, Johan Guzman, who has missed weight numerous times. He just missed weight again by 8 pounds for a 140-pound contest. As a true consummate professional, what do you think when that happens, especially when you're getting ready to fight? You have the time in the gym. You've put in the hours. You're ready to showcase yourself. And they can't even find a way to make weight and enter the ring. He even turned you down just to fight. after he could
Exactly.
make the weight.
You know what? It just shows me that the system is broken. The system is broken. The system is broken.
Do you think that they need to start going into same-day weigh-ins like
Yep.
they used to?
Yep. Because if you fight a guy like Joan Guzman, who's 8 pounds over the day before the fight, what is he the day after the weigh-in?
You know, and just on that fighter, you know, he was a guy that so many people were really high on, you know, loads and loads of talent, just lacking the dedication. Do you find it just to be absolute fact that a guy like that is not taking it seriously when he can't, at his stature, he can't even make junior welter?
Well, you know what? Just go to show you.
What was that?
Just go to show you. He may not want to eat as much as I did.
It blows me away how some people they have a history of it, and you look at so many people that are dying to have that opportunity to fight for a title, and then you have these guys that just keep getting handed the opportunity over and over again. I mean, what does that do in the mindset of the guys that do go in there and they don't have the biggest promoter, but they put the time in the gym, they win their fights, and they still can't get a break despite always being professional in everything they do in the ring?
Well, that's the way this game is. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Who do you think made the most money after the Diaz fight, Neo Diaz?
Oh, Diaz made a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, he had those 2 Malignaggi fights. He had the 2 Marquez fights. One of them was pay-per-view. Yeah, there was no justice in that, Nate. You're not going to get an argument off of me.
So, what makes you think this broken system can ever work properly?
You know, I don't know. I mean, isn't that the $1 million question? How we make all this thing work together, be fair and just?
Yep. And when it does work together properly, it's usually by mistake.
What do you mean by that? That it's by mistake? Is it just you get lucky and you have a couple of fighters under the same promotional banner and you can actually sort out divisions?
There you go. There you go. Had a promoter tell me, say, we're just going to fight around you. And they did just that.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about the top-ranked Golden Boy rivalry? Do you think that it's really as heated as it is, or they basically just have an understanding that they can make plenty of money and protect their stable while not working with each other?
Whatever it is, they're making it be more important than the boxing game. I don't know what it is, but it's become more important than the sport that it's supposed to be a part of.
And you know, and when you look back on that, what opportunities do you see yourself and other fighters that have you've missed on it just because you don't share the same promoter with other guys?
You know what? I stopped thinking about it when they started fighting around me. Do you realize there were no title shots at 135 other than Pacquiao, David Diaz, after they stripped me of the title?
No kidding.
Check it out. The day they stripped me, Marquez called to be sanctioned to fight the 135-pound title.
And do you think that's just that's a matter of how he's just the pull that someone like a Marquez has in the business that makes that happen, where they don't go through the proper avenues to determine through the rankings who the new champion will be in the fight to make it?
Oh, he was ranked. He was ranked, but they would need to fight me there. See, as long as the sanctioning body ain't going to bother him about fighting me, or he has enough good fights out there where he doesn't need the title, why fight me? All he has to do is just fight and get the ring title from somebody else, and they automatically make him the champion, and I'm just the guy with the title.
Yeah, and they were able to find a way to jump over you around every turn, basically.
Right, but I'm the champion. How can you jump over the champion? That's the question.
Yeah, and when you look at these sanctioning organizations, does it just make you sick that they can have four champions in the same category between super, interim, regular, and all that crap?
But bothering is the fact that people don't say anything about them unifying those belts. I like the 4 separate belts. Because it usually makes the 4 best guys have to fight each other. Right?
Go ahead.
But, the promoter's strong enough to keep his title working, and, okay, think about it. Golden Boy had a content deal with HBO. They didn't need to put those kind of fights on, because they were going to get money anyway. Why fight for the title when you can make more money not fighting for it?
Yeah, do you think that the amount of money that HBO and Showtime are paying out fighters has taken the luster away from even having a title, and it just turns into I can give you the biggest paycheck?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and as someone that worked so hard to finally get themselves to a title and getting 3 in the same night, what do you think when all these guys just kind of cast their titles aside and they don't appreciate what it is to be a champion?
They don't care. The one great moment in my life is this. I became world in boxing. I became world champion. Now, I may never make $15 million on one night boxing or $50 million boxing. But you can't take that away from me. Our world is so much about money nowadays, your esteem doesn't matter.
But, no matter, any financial trouble you ever find, it's pretty amazing to be able to look back and say that, you were really the last unified lightweight title holder.
I'm it. And you know what? My daughters will make sure you know that. My babies will make sure you know that.
And does that mean more to you than everything else? The fact that your kids are so proud.
Let me tell you something. My daughters put a picture of me up on Instagram, and all they say is, "Your daddy's so handsome, yeah." We think it's a funny joke. My daughter just loves their daddy. Their daddy loves them. Boxing was a way to see it and to make their lives better. I did it, and I was good at it. And now that I have a family of daughters, all girls. I'm about to be married again. I'm right now in the process of trying to find funding to put on my reality show. I think I would have the greatest reality show in the world. Bar none, probably the best of all time. We are a funny group of people. There are 5 daughters, a granddaughter. I don't think we have a boy. We don't have a boy goldfish. Me and my daughter's Johnson's dog, Seamus, are the only boys in the family.
So do you kind of feel outnumbered, and every once in a while you just you got to go hide yourself for a while, get out of the line of fire?
No. Because at the end of the day, Daddy's still Daddy. And I'm telling you, man, this is the greatest time of my life. I'm in love. I'm truly in love with someone. I'm not getting married because people told me to. I'm in love with this woman who loves me for me. And as a fighter, man, it's almost impossible to find somebody that loves you for just you. They love you for your left hook, your straight right hand, your body punches. They love you for something other than just you being you.
And when you look at your career and your life, it's been a struggle every step of the way with these moments of triumph in between. do you think that you finally have come full circle and that you've really found peace in both your professional and personal life?
You know what? I have a book that I pen called "When My Mess Became My Message," and it talks about all the lessons I learned, and every one of them is something that boxing taught me, even on top of something that the Spirit of God has led me to understand. I know that everything I went through was meant for me. It was meant for me. I know that it was meant for me. I have so much more depth to myself as a person now because I boxed, because I was world champion, because I lost the title fight. There's so much more depth to my life.
And as you look forward and you're looking ahead, are you much more excited about your next 20 years as opposed to the last 20 years?
Man, I'm so happy every day I get up. I'm just hoping that somewhere along the way somebody will say, you know what? This Nate Campbell guy, man, he did something good those first ones, but he did something great the last.
And Nate, that's definitely the way to look at it. And you know, speaking on behalf of all our fans, we're really happy for you that you found so much happiness outside of the ring, because it's something that, and I'd like to get your take on this. It's something that fighters seem to struggle with. They always end up coming back for more. They can't find that. They can't feel complete outside of the ring a lot of the time. Why do you think that is?
Well, for me, in the immortal words of Miss Rosalind G. Thompson, great mother, beautiful woman, my fiancée, Miss Nate Campbell. She said, I didn't sign on to be pushing you around in a wheelchair, my pretty heels. I will do it if it happens. But you're not going to make it happen. I love you more than any of the stuff that we can have boxing. I love you. In some kind of way, man, that thing was able to diffuse everything I thought about boxing.
And so when you look back at the last few years, you know, and some tough losses that, you know, Nate Campbell really shouldn't have had, you know, top form. Can you just cast that all aside because you really have found what makes you truly happy in life?
Yeah, I can. I can truly say I'm blessed. And a lot of people are like, man, you live here and you do this and you do that and you made all this money. I didn't make all that money. I don't live in $1 million house. I live in a nice home. I'm not filthy rich. I can't not ever work again. At some point, I'm going to have to get a job. But, man, for the life that I have, it's so worth it.
Well, and we're incredibly happy that you found it, and we appreciate your time today. If you want to hang with me after we get done here, definitely do your take on the Mayweather-Canelo fight. But Nate, for all the people at BoxingSum.com and our listeners, we really appreciate this interview, and I think everyone's going to really love hearing this. And it's a bright spot in what can oftentimes be a very, very dark sport.
It is. You know, and I'm so sad that so many of us have had to find out the hard way and not have someone who loves them like Rosalind loves me and my daughters love me. I have so much to be thankful for. And like I said, I'm in the process now of getting offers for funding to do my reality show called Experiencing the Galaxy. And a lot of people laugh at me because they're like, Nate, you should be on TV. You say the funniest stuff, your family is beautiful, wonderful, and no one would ever know that regular old you lives this way. They don't think that you may think everything. I want to show people the real life of what a fighter has gone through, what it goes through. But at the end of it all, we're still people.
Absolutely, and Nate, you're a heck of a good one, and we really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Is there some parting words that you'd like to give to your fans out there as they listen to this interview?
I want to thank all my fans. I want to thank you for loving me and supporting me all years of my career, all the years that I dropped the ball and I got up and I picked it up and ran with it. Thank you for loving my fumbles as well as my touchdowns. Thank you for loving my knockdowns as much as my knockouts, my losses as well as my wins. I thank you just for being so good to me and showing me so much love. And it's a great honor in my life to be Nate Campbell, the fighter, but I thank you all for allowing me to be Nate Campbell, the man.
Excellent. Well, Nate, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to hopefully having you again. And you know, all those people out there listening, anyone that might be involved with TV networks, take a look at this guy. He could be the next great announcer if you give him the chance.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks you so much.
Absolutely, Nate. All right, Nate Campbell, everyone.